Hey guys, it is Robin the Lady Biker. How is everyone doing today? I hope you're all having an exceptional day. So, on today, because, well, if you saw my recent series about the epic road trip that Allie and I took out to Arizona, you'll know that, man, one day we hit some serious wind. And so I thought today I would come on and talk about what I learned, or what I've learned in my years of riding, about riding in high winds. Come on. Alright guys, so I'm out for a ride, and I am loving this. Since the last time I took this road, it looks like they have repaved it. It is so much nicer. Anyway guys, so let's go back to the topic at hand, riding in high winds. Alright, so right here is a quick link to my series, on the epic trip that we took. Now, from when we left Santa Monica till we got to Kingman, Arizona, we hit some of the strongest wind I have ever ridden in my entire life. I mean, this stuff was crazy. To give you a reference, the sustained winds were plus or minus about 30 miles an hour, which isn't a problem. I mean, yes, they're strong enough to be felt. You're going to have to do some leaning into the wind. You're going to have to make some compensations and adaptations for it, but it's doable. It's rideable. That was not the problem. The problem was the wind gusts. Oh my gosh. Those gusts were gnarly. Oh my gosh, I guess I've been here in California longer than I thought. Anyway, the point is, they were plus or minus about 55 miles per hour. They were some significantly strong winds. They were strong enough that Allie and I both ride big Road Kings, big touring bikes, and they were strong enough to throw us halfway across the lane. I mean, yeah, they were strong. In fact, there was one section there as we got off onto Route 66 between Needles, California, and Oatman, Arizona. And it was a very gentle curve. I mean, very gentle curve. You know, enough where you can just kind of go, and that's about all the lean that you need to get around it. And the wind gust hit, and it didn't matter how much I leaned into it. It didn't matter how much I pointed into it. It kept pushing me across the lane. I was concerned at one point that I was going to go off into the gravel. It was that strong. So, it was wild. It really, I had to use all the things I had learned riding here on the Central Coast in more moderate winds, 20, 25, even 30 mile an hour. It really made me use those techniques and refine them and discover which ones really worked best for me. So, here are the top 4 things I have figured out for me whenever I am riding in high winds. Let me get around this really sharp 10 mile an hour curve. There we go. So, number 1. The number 1 thing when riding in high winds, the wheels on a motorcycle are basically 2 large gyroscopes. All right, I'm going to get a little bit techie and a little bit geeky on you, so here we go. Gyroscopes are kind of like a top. If you've ever spun a top as a kid, you know that the faster it spins, the more stable it is. Well, the wheels on a motorcycle are the same. So, when they're spinning, when we're riding, bikes, motorcycles want to stand up because a gyroscope, the centrifugal force of the gyroscopes, I forgot about that bump. The centrifugal force of those gyroscopes make the bike very, very stable. That's why when we corner, we have to take a certain degree of effort to turn the bars, to lean into it, because those gyroscopes are resisting the tilt. So guys, when you're riding, when you're under normal speed, the bike is very stable. It wants to stand up. So that's number 1. Trust your bike is going to be stable. Let's see. Number 2, relax and do not panic. please do not panic. All right, one of the things that happens when we get scared, like I'm about to come up to a stop on an incline. Let me see if I can do this. Ooh, I can do it as a rolling stop, yay. Or whenever we hit a high wind, the first thing we do is we grip the bars really hard, we lift our shoulders, and we get really, really stiff. Well, one, that's going to exhaust you a lot faster. So not only are you going to have the fatigue from having to cope with the wind, but you're also going to be fatigued from being stiff. But when you're stiff, you tend to have more jerky movements. So when you're stiff and you panic, the likelihood of overcorrecting, especially when a wind gust passes, is higher. It's much higher. So you're going to shoot across a lane. You could, in the worst case scenario, you could end up running into a median barrier. Trust me, you and the bike will lose. So, number one, trust your bike is going to be stable whenever it's moving. Number two, relax and don't panic. Number three, and this is especially for a crosswind, lean into the wind. So you might do it by leaning your body position. You may do it by counterbalancing and shifting on the seat. Both of those will really help you lean into the wind and kind of give you a little bit more control over your bike. Another suggestion that I've tried, and I personally don't care for it, is to stick your knee out. So if the wind is coming from the left, to stick your left knee out and point it into the wind. So the thought behind it is that creates like a sail out of your leg, and like a sailboat uses it to steer, it will help counterbalance the wind. It does work, but on a long touring trip, I find that makes my hip very fatigued, and the chances of getting muscle cramps in my glutes and my low back increase. So for me, it doesn't work, or at least not for a long term, but it might for you. Let's see, what other options do, so trust the bike's going to be stable, relax and don't panic, lean into the wind. Now, if you're riding along and you happen to be bucking a really hard headwind, number 4, make yourself as small as possible. The smaller that you can make yourself, the more streamlined, the less surface area that the wind can push against, so you won't fatigue as fast. So that means if you have a windshield like I do, try and duck down behind it a little bit. If you're riding a naked bike, squeeze your legs into the tank, pull the arms into the body, get as small as possible so that there's just not as much wind pushing against you. There we go. Have to let traffic kind of take their turns. Ooh, they need to fix that pothole. So anyway, those are the 4 things, the big things that I have learned is, like I said, trust your bike's going to be stable. Those gyroscopes work. It's a physics thing. Relax and don't panic. When you're relaxed, you won't fatigue as quickly. When you don't panic, you're not going to overcorrect and create an even worse situation. Lean into the wind. Use your body's weight. Use it as a counterbalance to kind of help keep the bike in a more upright position. And then number 4, make yourself as small as possible, especially if you're into a headwind. Don't give the wind that much to really push against you. So those are the things I've learned. So now that I've kind of shared with you what I know, for any of you out there who have some experience riding in high winds, and I know some of you out in the Midwest probably have quite a lot of experience at this. Tell me, would you add anything, any suggestions, any techniques to this list? So, all right, guys. Well, it's a cloudy, kind of still marine layer day, but, let me stop. It's kind of a cloudy marine layer day, but man, I just definitely want to keep riding because it's just so gorgeous here, and I've got an hour for lunch that I can. So with that, guys, I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. Let me know about your experience. So I asked the question about if you have any suggestions, if you have experience. If you are a fairly new rider, or at least that is a skill set that you haven't developed yet in your riding skills. If you have any questions, drop down. If I can't answer, maybe somebody else watching the video who's got more experience than both of us will be able to answer the question. So, all right, guys, if you can get out and ride, if you're snowbound, I hope you have another adventure you can get into. But whatever you do, have fun, be safe, and I'm going to catch you on the next video, guys. Bye.